Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts,
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. Today we're talking Week 9 in the NFL. Some of the good performances, bad performances. We're going to go through them all, starting right now. Let's jump into this thing. Talk about quarterbacks first. Bring up quarterbacks, and top one of the week, Kyler Murray again. Just he's really good. His team lost, which that was a disappointment, but I don't care about that. I care about fantasy. In 21-26, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran the ball 11 times for 106 in the touchdown. I mean, he's this year's Lamar Jackson, like we kind of thought he could be. He's better than Lamar is this year. So it's he's now the best running quarterback in the league at this point, isn't he? Lamar's just not been putting up those kind of numbers for us. So this is the best running quarterback we got.
Yeah, he is. He's doing great. And I think the amount of touchdowns he's been able to get, rushing is what set him apart. And even with Lamar last year, he scored a lot, but I feel like this is a different take on it. He does rush quite a bit, but like last year, Lamar had a lot more yards. But this year, he's averaging 1 touchdown a game rushing. That's just rushing. There's only one game that he hasn't had a touchdown, and that was week 4. So that alone, we talk about rushing quarterbacks kind of, having that really nice floor. This is what he's turned into, and he's going to be battling for kind of the top spot. It's anyone's guess if he's going to end number 1, but after this week, he's definitely going to shoot up. He's already in the top 5. So, it's kind of fun to watch a young guy get this chance, and especially with his team, like when he can have this kind of performance, when he had a rushing touchdown, over 100 yards rushing, 3 throwing, and you can still lose the game, that will give you a lot of points as a QB, because you have to keep slinging, you have to keep running, you have to keep doing these things, so it'll be fun to watch him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it's just it's been great to have him in fantasy. I'll say that. I've enjoyed that. Next up was Josh Allen, who actually finally put up another good game like he was early on in the year. I think we talked about this. I think it was last week. We talked about how he hadn't been putting up good performances, but hey, here it is. They go and beat Seattle there. So good game for Buffalo. He threw for 415, 3 touchdowns, gets himself a rushing touchdown. So
yeah, finally on the passing aspect too, because he kind of busted out of he wasn't terrible, but I would call it a 4-game slump for someone that is considered a top 10, top 5 quarterback. Obviously he broke it wide open today. He did unbelievable, but the weeks before, not so much. And to do it against Seattle as well is probably a good sign. How do you feel? Obviously you have Arizona, which we just, saw they were having difficulty stopping anyone at the moment. Yep. And then you have a bye. Is he still, and then you have San Fran, Pittsburgh, Denver, New England. He still has a tough matchup come playoff time. Do you still believe in him, even though this huge output today, or are you still a little hesitant to say, I'm going to rely on this guy for the stretch?
I don't like that week 14 game. That one does worry me yet, but I'll say Pittsburgh's not some shutdown, completely shut down teams. They barely beat Dallas today. Dallas didn't score necessarily a lot of points. I think maybe scored 18, but still, it wasn't like they really shut them down very well with Garrett Gilbert there. So while I don't like the matchup for Allen, it's not scary, I would say, anymore. The rest of them I'm not worried about. San Francisco, at one point we might have been worried about it, but not anymore. So, I don't feel great about that week 14 game, but if you don't have a better option, you can't get one in a trade, which you probably won't. I think you just got to roll with it and hope for the best.
For that one, would you actually think about streaming another quarterback just for that 1 week? It comes playoff. I'm personally, as much as I want to, I like to stick with the guys I have, right? And I know you're very similar, but for that one, are you actually looking outside? Do you trust someone else that might have a good matchup that isn't, that might be outside the top 10?
I think it would be really tough to find that. I don't think I could. I think I'd go with Josh Allen and hope for the best. I just don't see a way I'm doing it. No. I'll go with Allen. At this point today, I'll go with Allen. We'll see what happens. But other guys, Patrick Mahomes, solid game. Rodgers was good on Thursday night. Lock, pretty solid game for Drew Lock there, which, gets Atlanta though. I mean, I don't know if I put too much into it, but
we did bring him up as far as a streamer. So that's good. And the last 2 weeks he's done well. And this is coming off of that, the injury that took him out from week 3. He had a bye as well, but 3 through 5, he did not play. It took him a second to get back into it against New England. He had a terrible outing, but he's been back into it week 8 and week 9 here. In standard 25 on 26 and then 33. He's another one. Obviously, he's going to be out there. If people are hurting for quarterback, how much do you actually believe in Drew Lock?
Not a lot. I know he's had 2 good games, but I need to see a lot more than that. I'm not buying it really yet. I mean, we saw some of it last year too, but I've seen too much bad this year to put him in my lineup yet.
Right. Well, I was going to say, and speaking of not believing in it, we can bring up Teddy Bridgewater now. He was next. He had a great game. Good for him against KC, but obviously very up and down this year. I don't put a lot of stock in it, but he might be a streamer,
it depends on matchups. Yeah, it's just, again, not something I don't want to play him too often. Some other games. Russell Wilson wasn't as good today. He's still good, but he threw the 2 picks, which didn't help. But
I do have to say though, like as far as quarterbacks go, it does feel like a lot of quarterbacks did awfully well.
Yeah, there really is a lot of good games. Except when you go down to like Lamar and he only gets like 18.
Yeah, he got 18. I mean, when you're getting 18 points and that is like the bottom of the barrel. Relatively good week, right? Because we usually, I could say that, but you have injuries and stuff down below. But yeah, I mean, that is kind of like near the bottom.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Ryan Tannehill as well, only 18, 19 points. He did not perform that well. They didn't really need him all that much, but
I'll say most of your starting options didn't hurt you this week. Didn't really hurt you too bad, except Tom Brady in this game right now. Tom Brady, last I saw, he was in the negatives.
Yeah,
so after a half.
Not doing well. We'll find out. The other guy, Drew Brees, we're not even done with the game, and the guy's already creeping up that list. I mean, where is he right now? I don't know. He's probably 15th or so because I think he has about 24 points already. So he started off with a bang. So it's good to see him kind of get back on track. I've been asking how you feel about everyone. Drew Brees is someone that everyone is down on, right? He hasn't been getting it done this year. It's been kind of up and down, even though the last few weeks has been fine. I mean, he's been, I would say good, but not compared to like the top 10 guys. Do you think that, I mean, is he someone that you're just like, I'm done with you. I'm not going to waste my time trying to.
I think he's going to, especially with Michael Thomas back now and playing San Francisco, which has been bad now, 2 games against Atlanta. I like that too. I mean, I think the schedule is decent for him here. Nothing that scares me off of him. So, I think I would be okay with playing Drew Brees now with Michael Thomas there.
It's kind of interesting too, because in the first 5 weeks, he was very up and down. He really only had one really good game. Since he's gotten off the bye, week 7, 8, 9, he has gone for nearly 28, 24, and tonight it will be over 24, I assume. So he has been really coming along. Like you said, now he's getting his big weapon back. And on top of that, what you mentioned actually happens very quickly, right? So you're talking San Fran, and then you have Atlanta, Denver, Atlanta. So it does seem like it's going in the right direction for him. If this is a, getting back on track moment and not just a Tampa Bay is really sticking up the joint tonight, which we'll find out.
This is a weird game going on right now.
It is weird.
All right. How about running back here? Dalvin Cook leads the way again. Just another monster game from Cook. 206 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 46 receiving.
He is staking his claim for the best running back in the league. I mean, everyone else has gotten injured or fallen off, and Dalvin Cook has been putting up some monster numbers. And I mean, he was great before this, but the last 2 weeks, I mean, oh my gosh.
It's been ridiculous what he's doing. And I mean, he's good. He's really, really good right now. So good to see that from Dalvin Cook. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey. So he comes back, but he left the game with a shoulder injury. What is it? I don't know. So wait and see what that's going to be.
I know. And it's too bad because I wanted to say like the king returns. Dalvin Cook, he's having these monster things. And then McCaffrey comes back and immediately scores a couple touchdowns, 27 points in standard. Obviously, if you're PPR, more. And you're kind of like, oh, wow, okay. Picking up right where he left off. And then you have the unspecified injury. And now all owners are holding their breath again. Because, I mean, what a wild ride it is to have McCaffrey this year. I traded him. He did this, and I was kind of like, well, I'm glad I get the value for him, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise because if he gets hurt again.
But yeah, that's about it though for the guys that really were, really good. Yeah, those two were great. The rest though, it's just kind of James Robinson was fine again. He's number 3 right now. He just gets it done, right? He just gets it done.
He is, yeah, and we talked about him in our mid-season awards, which was pretty late season still, but he is the biggest surprise of the year by far for me.
Yeah,
he's been very good. I don't want to oversell it, but he's been very good. But even more than that, he's been consistent in a year where that is not the norm. Mm-hmm. Besides for someone like Dalvin Cook, who you had to spend an arm and a leg to get, James Robinson is ranked number 5, and he might jump up to number 4 as a running back. A guy that you got off the waivers, and every week, I think only 1 week, week 5, he hasn't gotten double digits. Actually, week 1 as well, he only scored 9 in standard. But that is unbelievable production from a guy that was relatively unknown before the season. So that's good for him.
Number 4 for the week, Kaelin Bellage. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I saw his name come up, and I was like, I don't even know what to say about this guy.
I'm not going to recommend him for waivers, but honestly, I did not. Wayne Gallman too. He shows up here. Yep. Then it's Josh Jacobs gets himself a touchdown. Devontae Booker, though, the other Raiders running back, got himself a touchdown as well. And a lot of just not great performances here. Zach Moss gets himself a touchdown off 9 of 18 carries, but again, he's the goal line back, and because of that, Devin Singletary pulls off a 2-carry, 1-yard game. That's what happened. I don't even want to talk about Singletary, Jeff.
I know it's hurting my heart after last game too. And they scored a lot of points. So I don't know. It's a strange one he's just not a player that you can depend on. And the way that they're playing right now, I think, at some point I just have to say I'm wrong about him. I don't think that I think that he could be good somewhere. I'm not going to take that away because we've seen him in moments have his time in the sun, but this team is not built that way. That is not how they win. They can put up big points without the running game. So, I just not what I thought Buffalo was going to be, but they're good.
Yeah, I'd say there's just not a lot of great performances this week. But how about Jonathan Taylor? Do the Colts just not believe in this guy now or something? Only 6 carries. 6 carries for Jonathan Taylor and 11 for Jordan Wilkins. Wilkins didn't do anything with him, but Taylor only 6 carries. What's going on there?
I'm not completely off. Baltimore is still a good defense. Yeah. The carries does worry me. I'm not going to say it's all sunshine and rainbows. At least he got the touchdown. In dark times when you're still getting red zone touches, you have to sigh a little bit of relief. And I'm hoping that they get back on track. But I do have some serious doubts about what is going on in Indianapolis because the passing game is not doing very well, right? Rivers I think he had that one monster game, and then he plummeted back to earth. And if you can't do that, none of the running backs are getting open. I don't know. They just look a little worn down right now. And I can't recommend Jonathan Taylor too heavily at the moment. Unfortunate.
Alfred Morris outscored Zeke. So
Zeke, man, that is speaking of someone that is disappointing, he did worse than Jonathan Taylor today. And to your point, I keep not wanting to sound the warning bell, but I'm there. How many 4 weeks in a row now that and he has plenty of touches. The last 4 weeks, and this coincides very much with Dak going out, but you have 12 carries, 19 carries, 18 carries, and you're just getting nothing. And you're not going for double digits in fantasy. And besides for the week 6 against Arizona, he did catch 8 balls for 31 yards, right? So if you're in a PPR, that saved you that week. But the 3 weeks after that, only 1 catch, 2 catches. Like, what do you make of Zeke? What do you do with him? Because, I mean,
well,
truly, you're in kind of dangerous territory here.
At least he's on a bye next week, so you don't have to think about it. No.
That is a very thin silver line.
I think you're just in a spot where you have to play him. Unless you have stacked your team with running backs, which I just don't think that's the case for most people. I think you just have to play him. And yeah, hope for the best. But it's going to be hard for him because his coach is a moron. So
we're back to this. All right. Another guy I do want to ask, Chase Edmonds. Big hype. Obviously, Cardinals scored a lot of points. He did not get in the end zone. 25 carries for 70 yards, with 3 catches for 18. What do you make out of I'll call it a lackluster performance for Chase?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it, actually. A lot of work, a lot of volume, and he's done well before. But, I mean, sometimes you see with guys that they do really great with limited work, and then they get all this volume and they don't really put it together. And maybe that's the case. I don't know if that's the case of what happened here, but I think he's a player, though. As long as Drake's out, I'm going to play Chase Edmonds and not worry about it because he's just the guy completely there. And if you're going to get 20 carries, great. I think he'll get a touchdown here at some point. And he gets a touchdown in this game, and it's like, oh yeah, it's one touchdown. He's number 3 back on the day. That's it. That's all it takes. That's all it would have taken with his numbers. Just one little 1-yard touchdown, and he's the number 3 back. So that could change real quick. So, and
the final guy for me, I just want to mention, but Derrick Henry, obviously, usually very, very good. Didn't have a great game today. They gave him 21 carries. It wasn't that, but he only managed 68 yards of it. He did not make it into the end zone for the first time since week 2. So, I obviously you still believe in him, but disappointing for owners this week.
Yep. Some other James Conner, only 9 for 22, 2 points in standard. Not much there. Le'Veon Bell, if you were hoping for much from him, 4 carries, 8 yards. That's it. So not a lot going on there either. Just it's a lot of disappointment today in the running backs. How about wide receivers? So wide receivers, the top of the week right now in standard is actually Richie James, who played Thursday night. Everyone saw that coming. After that, it gets a little more normal with the next 2, Tyreek. And then Devontae played Thursday as well. Tyreek, solid 9 for 113, 2 touchdowns, good game. Then you got DJ Chark, who, there he is, 7 for 146 and a touchdown. He's kind of, I know he's capable of this, but this is the first time he's really done it this year. So, except for week 4. I guess week 4, he had 2 touchdowns, 8 to 95, but maybe it was the new quarterback. I don't even know what the guy's name's. Jake Luton, something like that.
I don't actually know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. So, hey, maybe that's what he needed, right? A guy to just throw him the ball. So,
I would hope. I mean, this is what you hope for DJ Chark for the entire year, right? I mean, that he's capable of it. He did it last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has been so up and down. I know you're going to say that we need to see another week. Would that be enough? If he did one more week, would that be enough for you to put him back in the lineup?
I'd probably put him in the lineup now. I think he's a talented enough player. I've always thought that, and it's just for some reason it wasn't happening. But I think I'd be playing Chark most teams, not every team, but most teams. He probably gets his like a third receiver.
Here's another one and he's the next one up. But Jerry Judy finally having a breakout game, if you want to call it that. Drew Lock doing well, if you remember from what we talked about earlier. 7 catches for 125 yards and a touchdown. Where does he factor in to your decision making as far as, I mean, he's probably on waivers for a lot of people too. He's rostered in 61% of leagues. Is this a breakout game, or is this just, hey, you're a talented rookie and you got one good game, but I don't trust you?
I don't quite trust you yet because I think it's still the Atlanta thing where Atlanta hasn't been great. It doesn't. I'd say him and Locke are kind of tied together. Where I still need to see a little bit more from them. Obviously, Judy should be on a roster, but in some situations I would play him, but not all. I actually have a team where I've put him in the lineup here or there this year. Don't love to, but I could see it. I could see a situation where you play him, but I'd rather just see a little more consistency before I'm putting him in my lineup every week. I just need consistency. Some other names: Curtis Samuel, solid outing again. That's the 2 weeks in a row. He's actually been pretty good. So good to see. Terry McLaurin, good, 7 for 115 touchdown. DK Metcalf, just another solid 7 for 108 and a touchdown. He's just good. Keenan Allen, solid. AJ Brown, solid. Will Fuller, good game. Juju gets himself a touchdown. Good to see that. Brandon Cooks. So there's a lot of good wide receiver games today. A lot of these guys just had pretty solid outings here. Nothing too crazy. Nelson Aguilar, that's a name that, again, gets himself a big touchdown.
Yeah, he's been kind of quietly putting together a year, besides for week 8, where I don't know if he was hurt or what, because he zeros across the board. I can't remember if he played, but but other than that, he's actually been very good for the past 4 weeks when he did play. He's been double digits in every single one of them. He's got to be a name that you think about now, because what else do you do? He's only rostered in 15% of leagues. So
when it comes to waivers,
that to jump up.
Yeah, when it comes to the waivers tomorrow, he honestly probably has to be on the list.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any way around it. The other one I do want to mention or go back to, Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks have been very good of late. Like, Brandon Cooks finally felt like he got back into it. How do you view Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks? Say if you own both of them, are they good enough where you would start both of them, or is that still dicey territory with Texans being very volatile offense?
I feel like I think it's a little dicey. I'd feel more comfortable with Fuller right now. I don't think I don't want to start both of them. I have no problem starting either of them in separate situations. I wouldn't want to start both of them, actually. I don't think there's enough there on most weeks to really put you over the edge with 2 Texans wide receivers.
Yeah. And Will Fuller, as you said, is obviously the better option. He is on a 6-game streak where he's caught a touchdown. Half of those games he went for over 100 yards receiving. So he has been their clear-cut number one. Brandon Cooks, on the other hand, has been up and down, very good, but 3 out of the last 4 games he's caught a touchdown. It feels like they're finally figuring out how to kind of do it without Deandra Hopkins. Obviously not as good as when he was there, but they're spreading the ball around a little more now. Speaking
of Deandra Hopkins, he's one of my disappointments for the week. Three catches for 30 yards off 3 targets. And you get that good of a game from Kyler, and Deandra you think would be a big part of it, but he wasn't. So not great there. Some other disappointments here. DJ Moore, 2 catches, 18 yards. So DJ Moore, was it last week where he caught 2 for 55 and one of those was just a 40-yard play right at the end of in the last drive in the fourth quarter? So that's 2 weeks in a row where DJ Moore has just given you pretty much absolutely nothing. So
yeah,
that's not loving that.
No, what we knew that about the Panthers receivers, especially you wonder about McCaffrey coming back, if that really zaps, the wide receivers again. It felt like they finally got their feet under him when he was, out. But they're up and down, and you can't really predict it either, because touchdowns are very kind of those are just sporadic for the wide receivers, at least. And Curtis Samuel has been doing well, as DJ Moore has not. So I don't know if that's a one or the other. They can't support 2 at once, but that's why it's very difficult to play those guys and feel really, really good about it. The other one that is disappointing that we thought they would have a big game is the Vikings wide receivers. So Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Neither of them did all that well, but obviously, once again, Dalvin Cook show. Well, what happens if Dalvin Cook keeps doing this?
Well, it's not even just Dalvin Cook today. This is part of it was Irv Smith, man. It was Irv Smith stealing those 2 touchdowns off only these 2 catches. I think
2 catches, 10 yards, 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly.
That's part of it. But yeah, the Dalvin Cook thing, I think, is the bigger factor, honestly, because the Irv Smith ones that could go, that's random. Yeah. But the Dalvin Cook thing is they're going to ride Dalvin Cook all the time. Why not? Until it's stopped, they're going to run the ball. I don't think they really want to put it into Kirk Cousins' hands very much, I don't think they're that confident in it. Honestly, as long as they're playing like this and Dalvin Cook can run the ball like he is and they can continue to go to it, Jefferson and Thielen's numbers might suffer at times. Not all the time, but it really might. I think it could be a thing until teams can actually, maybe they'll come up and try to stop Cook. And if they do that, it might open up Thielen and Jefferson again, but no one's doing it yet. So we'll see how that plays out, but Cook's just too good. So how about tight ends? Talked about Irv Smith there. He was the number 2 tight end on the week with just 2 catches, but they're for touchdowns. Number 1 tight end's Travis Kelce. Are we surprised? No, not really.
I will say this. The only reason I'm surprised is the way he did it. Like when you say that he has 15 points or he caught a touchdown.
Yeah, no touchdowns.
10 catches for 159 yards.
Yep.
I mean, PPR guys are you wish he got a touchdown, but still, that is unbelievable.
Because the way tight end works, all of the next guys got touchdowns, and that's the only reason they're here. So everybody, Irv Smith, we said Jimmy Graham got himself a touchdown. So because none of these guys have started at Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham at 11.5 in standard. So if you think of these next, like, I don't even know, 8, 9 guys all have a touchdown, they didn't really put up many points or, many actual catches. It's Jimmy Graham, it's Ingram, TJ Hawkinson, Jonas Smith, Darren Waller. So it's at least names, it's good names that got touchdowns. But then Eric Ebron, I should have had Eric Ebron in my lineup this week, Jeff, and I just couldn't do it.
You didn't? I laughed because I was like, because I had to do it in another league, and I was like, Ebron got a touchdown. I don't feel bad about doing it now.
I'd have a shot to win tonight in my game if I would have just got over my prior hatred, but I couldn't do it. Daryl Daniels shows up here with 8.1 points, up 1 for 21. It's good old Daryl Daniels, right?
Yeah, and good old Taysom Hill. Their game isn't even done yet, but he's already got almost 7 points, so he's going to be as a tight end.
I guess I didn't really pay attention to who Kyler Murray threw his touchdowns to, so he threw the one to Daryl Daniels there, and then Max Williams shows up as well down here. So that's where they were going. So there's some guys that caught touchdowns, some disappointments. I guess it's the guys that have been disappointing us a lot lately. Hunter Henry, Mark Andrews again. Mark Andrews, he's just not the same player as last year. And it's not him, I think. It's just this offense in general is different. They're not putting up with the points they did, but I don't think they care. They're winning games, right? So it doesn't matter. And, we're just not going to get that, I feel like.
Well, okay, even with this, though, this is how ridiculously poor the tight end position has been. So he's going to have 3 weeks in a row where he's done next to nothing. And this will obviously drop him a little bit. But even before that, he was ranked the 5th best tight end. So it just shows you that.
I don't even know how that's possible.
I don't either. It's a complete crapshoot if you don't have Kelce.
Yeah, tight end, man. It's not great now with Kelce. That's pretty much it. And us former Kittle owners are disappointed in life because of this. He was supposed to be that other guy, but all right. I think that's going to do it for week 9 recap. Yeah, we still got Saints and Bucks going on. It's still 31-0. Wow.
Do you have that game up right now? The 2 things I want you to check on is how Michael Thomas is doing right now and how Antonio Brown is doing.
All right, so Michael Thomas, if I pull this up, Michael Thomas has 5 catches, 51 yards. So nothing crazy, but it's still third quarter, 2 minutes left in the third quarter. So at least he's involved, to start, but not former big Michael Thomas numbers.
No, but still, 5 receptions does lead the team.
Yeah, it's still there.
Say something.
So Antonio Brown, I saw him targeted a couple times, and he's caught 3 balls for 31 off 5 targets, which is actually, I think, the team lead with a couple others. Gronk has 5 targets. Godwin has 5 targets. Evans has 4 targets. Fournette has 4 targets. Jones has 4 targets. So there we go. That's the whole worry of Antonio Brown and all these weapons is it's just going to be a mixture. And today's just, it's going to everybody and no one's doing anything.
I was going to say, the same thing. It's not boding well for what's going to happen in the future because they're throwing up a big old donut at the moment.
Yeah, and then the running game for the Bucks right now is 3 carries for Jones for 9 yards and 1 carry for Fournette for 0 yards. So, don't know what happened to the Bucks tonight. Ugly game. So, all right, that'll do it though for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're talking some waiver wire. Talk to you then.